now. Oh, nice. Yeah, Robbie, just keep on track with the messages and stuff. Perfect.
Yep.
All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our second showing of this webinar, actually. We did the first one last week with Dr. Arnold from Lancashire Smiles Dental Mentor, and we saw that a lot of people enjoyed it, so we thought, why not do it again? So thank you all for tuning in. My name is Faris, and I'm joined by Robbie, and yeah, we'll go into who we are in a second. Perfect. So hi, I'm Faris, as I said. I'm a fourth year dental student at King's College London. I'm Egyptian, a Liverpool supporter, of course, because, you know, of course, like there's no other reason why.
7-2.
Founder of Faris Dent. So I have a YouTube channel, Instagram, TikTok, if you guys want to check it out, at Faris Dent. Little wannabe of Ali Abdal, because obviously who doesn't want to be another Ali Abdal? But I think I've got better hair. And yeah, vice president of ADSS, which is a national aesthetic dentistry society, and the current president of the King's College Arab Soc. So that's a little bit about me. Moving on to Robbie.
So I'm also a fourth year dental student at KCL, which means unfortunately I am studying with Faris. I am also Egyptian. I am the co-host of the You Know the Drill podcast, also unfortunately alongside Faris.
Let's go.
Today I'm feeling a bit happy, so ignore the unfortunately bit and just take the supports arsenal. And finally, I am part of the KCL Dental Society and Arabic Society. So yeah.
Great. Cool. Just answering some messages there. Fantastic. Okay, so yeah. Next, I want to go into kind of the aims of this talk today. So the aims are to learn what a personal statement and what the admissions team are looking for. Now, you kind of get told personal statement this, personal statement that, you need to write a good one, but you never really get told what the things are that make you stand out. So today we're going to try and give you a little bit of extra clarification as to what you can do, how you can stand out and be successful. Oh, guys, please do make sure you mute yourselves.
I'm going off the rail.
I think you're muted there. Fantastic. So yeah, gain insight into the best tactics to optimize your application. Again, myself and Robbie were successful in that application, so we'll give you our tips. Be more confident in your ability to structure a personal statement. So how to actually write it, because we know how difficult it can be to just get those words on a piece of paper or type it up. So we're going to go through the specifics as to how to actually do it. And last but not least, Robbie, what do you want them to be?
I don't know.
Interactive. All right, this guy doesn't know how to read slides, guys. So we want you guys to be interactive. Get involved. If you have any questions, plop them in the chat, please, and we will get to them at certain points in the webinar or at the end where we have a Q&A session. So don't worry, if you write a message and we don't answer it, we do have a Q&A at the very end that we've scheduled in that you guys can come and talk at. On top of that, we will be having certain sections in this webinar where we'll want you guys to get involved. Please do get involved. No worries, Sadie. Please do get involved, because this is literally the best resource you're going to get. You've got two students that are willing to help you out, ask questions, get involved, and get us to, squeeze every drop from us. We're willing together. Fantastic. Okay, so let's begin. So classically speaking, if you ask the person what a personal statement is, this is like the bog standard type of answer. It's 4,000 characters. Kind of got to tell universities who you are, why you want to do dentistry. Quite basic, not very intuitive. And at the heart of it, it's just a screening tool to help, sift through the thousands of people that apply every year. How are you going to stand out from another person that got the exact same grades, has the exact same experiences? Well, personal statement is one of those ways. And all in all, I'd kind of describe it as a mini CV, in the sense of you're trying to portray the qualities that would make you advantageous to the university. And as a result of that, give you a place or reject you or whatever they do. So yeah.
All right. And in more, relevant terms, a personal statement is really an opportunity to express your interest in dentistry and show the university why you, above all the other candidates, deserve a place. It's a chance to prove that, as well as doing work experience and all of that, you've really researched this 40-year career. Faris's favorite statement is, you're setting yourself up for a career which is 40 years long. It's a 40-year career, something for the rest of your life. So got to really put across that point and show the admissions officers that you are ready and you have prepared. finally, you get to showcase your experiences and any situations that kind of highlight skills that you've learned that you think are relevant to dentistry and you think will make you the best candidate for to be a dental student.
Yeah, 100%. Remember, at the end of the day, this whole thing is built upon this notion of showcasing what you've done and reflecting on it, which we're going to be pushing a lot today, this idea of reflection and why it's really important. So yeah, brilliant. All right, let's go. So how do you actually write a personal statement? Now, I'm very direct with this, and the way you write a personal statement is by starting. Now, everyone here might be thinking, what does this guy mean? Of course I'm going to start. But the issue a lot of people have is they try to formulate a basic structure for their personal statement before they even write a word on that paper or type anything up. My best advice for you is, even if it's absolutely horrible, the worst thing you've ever written, start writing. Because when you start writing, you'll get that creativity going, and you'll get something on a piece of paper that you can edit down. It's so much easier to have, loads of rambly words that you can cut out than having to formulate new ideas in your head constantly and then praying that it all comes together perfectly for your personal statement. It just doesn't work like that. You need to start off, write stuff, and then you can edit it later, which is why you have drafts, which is why you have people reviewing your personal statement and giving you advice as to how to improve it. Okay, so our best piece of advice, myself and Robbie, is just start writing. Okay, next up is having a basic structure. Now, once you start that writing, once you've actually got some words on that piece of paper, on that Word document, you need to have a structure. We're going to go through that today, but basically it's about having an introduction, reflecting on work experience, extracurriculars, different skills, and then a conclusion, right? And specifically with all of those examples is being able to reflect. If you are unable to reflect on your experiences, those experiences are worth nothing. Just want to make that clear. People think that a personal statement's about just showcasing the coolest thing. It's not. The admissions staff do not care about how cool the example is. Doesn't matter if you've worked at NASA, if you cannot tell me why that's valuable for you as a dental student or as a dentist. So always remember that if you mention something, it's not the thing itself that's interesting, it's what you've learned from it that the admissions staff are looking for. Okay, so always reflect on what you've done. Next up, we'd also really recommend to make sure you use the resources you have. Ask your teachers, ask your friends that are applying for dentistry, applying for English, applying for history. Everyone that you can get to review your statement and give you alternative viewpoints is going to help. You don't have to listen to everyone, but even a little nugget of advice here or there is going to help improve it marginally. And that's what you want. You want that marginal gain to help improve your statement. And even your family can be really, really helpful. Showing it to your mum, your dad, your sister, your brother, cousins, uncle, auntie, I don't care, anyone you want, but just get someone else's opinion that's not in the field, because they'll give you a different point of view that you might have missed out on, because you get caught in this echo chamber of just dental students and dental applicants. Okay, fantastic. So yeah, off to Robbie.
So now it's a bit about the structure of your personal statement. So with anything, you want an intro, the main body, and the conclusion. With personal statements specifically, your intro tends to be quite short, to the point, kind of, you don't want to start stating everything you've done in the introduction. Kind of just want to, ease into the personal statement. Talk about maybe what your first, like why, the overall theme of why you want to be a dentist, potentially. A couple of sentences max. And like it says on the slide, don't overcomplicate it. That's the best way to put it. Please don't overcomplicate it. Then you get to the meat and bones. This is your main bit. This is where you talk about your experiences. And like Faris said, and we will drill it home a million times, you talk about your reflections here, and all the all the skills and lessons that you've learned from your experiences. So you might have a couple of paragraphs on different work experiences, a paragraph about a research thing you did, or a project you did that related to dentistry. So that's your main thing. And then just before the conclusion, again, you don't want this paragraph to be too long, but it's a paragraph about your extracurricular activities. So stuff that you do that gives you skills to be a good dental applicant and potentially a good dental student. So yeah, again, you want to reflect on your skills. You don't just want to say, like, I'm a captain of my team, I help with this, I've done that, I've volunteered there. No, you want to reflect on what these experiences have taught you. And then finally, you have your conclusion, very similar to the introduction in terms of length. So again, not too long, couple of sentences max. You don't want to introduce anything new. You just want it to kind of be a summary, again, about the main reason why you want to be a dentist. And please, please, please do not just decide to talk about a work experience that you haven't mentioned before in your conclusion. No, nothing new, just round it all off. That's literally the literal definition of a conclusion. Conclude everything. That's it. Do not introduce anything new.
Yeah, exactly. As Rob was saying, like a lot of people do have this thought that the conclusion is the last paragraph, so like they can squeeze a few extra things in. No, it's to just finish it off. An introduction is to introduce things. A conclusion is to conclude things. It's to finish things off. So do not mention anything new. You're just trying to round off, summarize what you've represented in your personal statement, and show the admission staff that, you know, as a result of you reading this, I think I deserve a place because of the experiences that I've shown. Okay. Just remember that it's really, really important. The amount of times that we see people write a new experience in their conclusion is frightening. So yeah. Okay. Now we're going to go on to our individual tips. So with regards to me, I'm very logical, very straight to the point. I think that writing a personal statement should be should be built upon this concept here, which is 2, state an example, reflect on it and explain what you gained, and relate it to dentistry and how it makes you a better applicant. This is applicable to literally every single example in the history of human history. All right. And me and Robbie are going to prove this in the next task that we do, that you can literally extract something from every single example with regards to like a work experience, with regards to something that you've done that seems interesting. You can always extract something and reflect on it. There's never a situation where you just state something for the sake of stating it, because there is absolutely no value in that. And I would draw this home even more as to why reflection is so important, in the sense of, you hear those stories where people make up stuff in their personal statements or interviews, then they get asked about it. The reason why those people don't do well is because they built on this concept of just stating something for the sake of stating it. But someone that's actually, and that's how interviewers can find that they're lying, because when they press them and they ask them to reflect, they can't do it. So if you've actually done something, you can reflect on it, then please do reflect on it, because it shows the admission staff and it shows interviewers in the future that you've really done that task and you've really learned something from it. And the final part of this is, once you've got that example, once you've stated the reason why it's, the reflective element of it, you should relate to dentistry. So you should say, so for example, I did this, I learned this, and as a result of this, it makes me a better dental applicant or better dentist because of this. That is the structure you need to follow. Okay. We'll give you an example. So let's say the example is, like for me, my name is Faris. I was house captain at my sixth form. Okay. From this, I had to organize the school talent show. This was really, really interesting because it allowed me to gain skills such as teamwork, communication, and leadership. These 3 skills are essential in dentistry because as a dentist, you need to be a team leader with regards to making clinical decisions and ensuring you provide the best treatment for the patients. You need to be able to be a good team worker whilst working in a multidisciplinary team alongside your nurses, receptionists, and therapists. And you should be a good communicator in order to relay difficult clinical information to patients, whilst also being able to relate this to your nurse or your other clinicians. Right. So I've dissected something like being house captain, and I've really, really narrowed it down to being able to say, oh, by the way, this is good because it's going to make me a better dentist. Okay. So that's what we want you guys to start doing. My next tip is to stop overthinking the small things. So just start writing and accept your first few drafts will be bad. This is what we were saying before. Just get writing. You're never, ever going to do it well the first time. You just can't, unfortunately, because you need to formulate things. You're going to write examples that you take out. You're going to change things. You're going to adapt things. That's the whole point of a personal statement. It's constantly evolving to the point where you create the best version of, that personal statement. You're never going to get it first time. And lastly, don't mention things just because you think they're going to be cool or help you stand out. No one, I'm telling you now, there's someone, when you apply, there's always someone that's done something cooler, done something more interesting. Okay, but there's never someone that can reflect in the same way you do, because you're going to reflect on your own experiences in your own unique way, and that's what makes you stand out in your application. It's not what you've done, it's what you've learned from it and indicated to the application stuff. Okay, so I hope we've drilled in why reflection is so important, um, and we're going to keep on doing it because it's so important. So now comes the interactive bit. Now, I'm going to tell you guys what you need to do, but just very quickly, with these sessions, some of you guys are going to be a bit nervous not to interact, but it's really, really the most valuable part of this. So do try and get involved, volunteer yourselves if you're interested, and you're going to get advice from 2 current dental students. Like, you literally cannot get better advice than this. So yeah, so as a volunteer, all we want you to do is think of an example or situation, and we're going to apply that framework that I just mentioned, this state an example, reflect, and relate to dentistry. Myself, and Robbie are going to guide you through it. So if you want to volunteer, please put your name on the chat and we will select one of you. As I said, I know it's a little bit scary, a bit daunting, but this is going to be the most valuable part of this whole webinar. And only 1 or 2 people are going to get to do this. So you might as well volunteer. We'll give you guys a few minutes, or like a minute to think.
I'll be monitoring the chat. Please, if you are going to type on the chat, make sure you send it to everyone and not just direct to myself or Faris.
Again, guys, we know it's a little bit nerve-wracking, but this is going to be the absolute best chance for you to learn something from this webinar. If you just volunteer, we're going to help you through it. As you can tell, myself and Robbie, we're relatively nice guys. No one's going to bite. All we need you to do is state an example and we're going to guide you through it, talk through how you can optimize it, and literally tell you how you can improve your personal statement. So it's up to you guys. We'll give another minute for you guys to have a little think. You will? Fantastic. Thank you, Hannah. Well, that's what we like to see. All right, Hannah, if you can unmute and just give me and Robbie an example or something that you want to put in your personal statement to show, you know, like something cool or interesting that you want to mention in your personal statement.
I'd like to mention that I do badminton practice.
Okay, so do you train? Are you like a coach, or do you go to like badminton practice and learn?
So I'll go weekly and learn.
Okay, fantastic. So badminton is a fantastic thing because there's a lot of little things that you can talk about here. So you can talk about things like self-discipline, you can talk about things like teamwork and communication. All right. So let's say you say in your personal statement, in my free time, I like to play badminton and go to training once a week. This is really, really important because it allowed me to gain an appreciation of the value of communication. This is because when I communicate with my coach about all the different drills that I need to do, I learned how important it is to pick up on the different, like for example, like the different types of shots that I need to do. This is really important in dentistry because communication is essential in ensuring that the patients have the best experience possible. By communicating different drugs, different treatments that the patient need, I can ensure that I provide myself as an excellent clinician and provide the best quality of service. Okay?
Yes, that's really helpful.
There you go. So this is what I'm trying to say. Like, this is, you can literally steal something from every single example. Like anything you can mention. And we're proving it now. Like, I've just proved it. We've gone from badminton practice to talking about how communication helps like treating a patient. Okay. And the reason why it's really easy to do is because once you identify those core skills that a dentist needs, all you need to do is extract that skill from the example. And if you already know why it's relevant in dentistry, you can use the same framework. So it's kind of a cheat code. So yeah, thank you, Hannah, for that. Hopefully that helped.
Could I just add something else?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
So would I be able to relate that with hand-eye coordination, for example?
Fantastic. Yes, you can. You can talk about hand-eye coordination. Probably can throw in some manual dexterity there, Robbie, do you think?
Yes,
Yeah?
potentially.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things you can mention there
Okay,
with
thank
regards to
you
going
very
to
much.
badminton practice. No worries. Thank you for that, Hannah. Salma, you've given an example. So you said I want to know about coding. What about this? What is this example of coding? Let us know. If you want to unmute and let us know. Are you here? Okay, we'll move on to the next person. No worries. Oh, you're learning to code. Okay, cool. We'll need you to unmute just so that we can converse with you, if that's okay with you. So we can just talk about the example, kind of see how we'd apply it to your personal statement, if that's all right with you. We'll give another few seconds. If not, we can just move on to the next person. It's no problem. Okay, no worries. Cool. So Rahul, what is your example? Let us know if you can unmute and let us know.
Hiya. So
Hiya.
it's I've been given the role of head boy at my school, so I'd say that links into working in a multidisciplinary team. So leading a team, I guess, teamwork skills. Yeah.
It's
Okay.
a lot of good skills.
There's so much you can talk about being a head boy. I'm gonna ask you now, have you ever had an experience or have you ever had a situation where you've had to use your leadership skills as a head boy?
I'd say leading the prefect team, I guess. So any events, sort of. So assemblies, charity events, things like that, I guess.
Yeah, don't say I guess.
Okay.
They're fantastic. That's really good. Like,
Okay.
I feel like with this stuff, people underestimate how good their examples are. Remember, not everyone's head boy. Not everyone has the
Yeah.
situation to have to be able to organize events. And some people might be a bit nervous, more introverted. Some people might find it difficult to do something like this. So don't underestimate how valuable those examples are, because not everyone
Yeah.
has them. You know what I mean? So Robbie,
Okay.
what do you think Rahul could extract from being a head boy?
There's so much. So there's the leadership and teamwork, which you literally said yourself when you were
Yeah.
talking to us, because obviously a dentist needs to, lead his team as well as being able to work efficiently in a team, because within the dental field there are so many different players that will help to make the patient feel comfortable and help deliver the best care to the patient.
Mhm.
So you can talk about, the teamwork skills that you've learned working with other prefects, or leading your prefects is the same kind of skills that a dentist requires when working with his nurse and
Okay.
with his practice manager and with maybe a superior or something like that. So that teamwork skill is very good. The leadership skill as well. Do you have to make decisions when in your role?
Yeah, sort of. I would say, yeah. It gets run past other teachers, but yeah.
Yeah, so as a dentist as well, you will be in situations, you might be under pressure where you're going to have to make decisions, make choices, and you can kind of say that the fact that you've learned that from your experience as head boy will enable you to transfer your skills or develop your skills while studying dentistry.
Okay. Would you?
But I'm sure Faris will be able to pick up on a lot more skills.
Okay. So what would be the best approach to wording that, really? Would it be like, I've been appointed to this role, I've been given the opportunity to do this, and this links to dentistry in this way, blah blah, like that?
Exactly.
The best way,
okay.
The best way to word it is literally follow the framework in the last slide. So state what you are. So I'm head boy, then reflect on it and explain what you gain. So as head boy, I've been in situations where I've had to make decisions, and I've had to work in a team. From this, I gained teamwork skills, and then finally relate it to dentistry. As a dentist, you are required to make decisions in under pressure situations, and you are required to work in a team. And how it makes you a better applicant, just be like, in dental school, I'll be able to build on these skills. I already have a foundation for teamwork and teamwork and what was the other skill? The other skill.
Regardless, like, it doesn't matter. But the point here is, like, the framework is setting the example, giving an example is like being a head boy. As head boy, I had to lead an event such as a charity event. As a result of this, I gained an amazing array of skills such as teamwork and communication when I had to deal with a team of 5 individuals in organizing the event. From this, I learned that communication is essential in dentistry, because and you can even link it to your work experience if you want, but you can say something, because in the dental team, you need to be able to work in the multidisciplinary team and communicate with your nurses, your dental technicians, and your dental receptionists to provide the best patient care. There you go. There's your example sorted.
Thank you. Do you mind me asking another quick question as well?
For now, if you have a question, put it in the chat and we will 100% get to it at the end. Don't worry.
Okay, no worries.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you so much, Rahul, for contributing. That's what we like, guys. See, ask questions, get involved. Like, it's the best way for you guys to learn. We're going to do one more example. I'm going to do Selma because she said she can't talk because of the noise. That's fine. So she's mentioned this idea of coding, which is really, really good. I like that a lot. And Will has asked a fantastic question about repetition. Thank you so much for asking that, Will. We will answer that at the end because that's a really good question. Well done for mentioning it. And we will tell you the answer, but don't worry, just wait till the end. But yeah, Salma. So learning to code is a really good one to talk about. Really, really good because you can talk about problem solving skills. You've literally picked it out before we can even say it. With coding, you might find different bugs, you might find different things that need to be fixed throughout the coding process. And depending on what software you're using, you need to be using your initiative to look at different blogs, to look online, to actually find solutions. And you can apply that to dentistry, this idea of problem solving, and even further, talking about critical thinking, which is one of my favorite skills. So critical thinking is literally like decision making and problem solving, but just, 10 times more advanced, because what you're doing is you're trying to make a decision based on multiple different factors. So let's say you need to pick the best treatment for the patient. You might be thinking, oh, as a dentist, I'll just call upon my knowledge and tell the patient what the best treatment is. But for me, someone that's thinking like a critical thinker, I'd say something like, well, no, you need to think about a load of different things. You need to think about the best clinical decision, but you need to also think about the attitude of the patient. You need to think about the competency of your nurse. You need to think about the amount of time that you have to actually do the treatment. Okay. So that's what a critical thinker does. They identify and represent the different qualities needed and the different factors needed to make a competent decision. Okay. So back to the coding thing, we can say something like, for example, I've started to learn how to code. I am fluent in Python or C++, whatever it is. And as a result of this, it made me appreciate the value of decision making and problem solving. When I was trying to code for this game or this program, whatever, I kept running into different bugs where I wasn't able to run the program without error codes. This really made me this really forced me to think outside of the box and be a fantastic problem solver and critical thinker. This is really important in dentistry because there are going to be many situations where I need to make quick decisions, such as if there's an emergency patient in the chair, or if I need to make a logistical decision about booking in, I don't know, the next patient, or critical decisions when I need to do a certain treatment or XYZ. So hopefully that helps you. As you guys can see, like the whole process is literally about dissecting. And it's not like you can look at an example and instantly think of, the skills. But if you think about it a little bit, put yourself back in the situation where you actually did that example, you'll start to realize, you know what, I actually did quite a lot. We did that with Selma now, and even with Rahul. You saw Rahul, you said he was head boy. First he was struggling, and then we started like we were just saying everything. So you can really find a lot of really interesting examples. You just need to work hard. If you guys want to drop the rest of your examples in the chat, you can. We'll get to them at the end. Don't worry. All the questions, put them as well, please. Thank you. Okie dokie. All right, now on to Robbie Sips.
Yeah, so my tips, I'll be cheeky and steal a couple of Farises. So please just start as soon as possible. And the second one is follow his framework. I did it in my personal statement. He did it in his. We know that's pretty much what they are looking for. No one just wants to hear your experiences. They want to be able to see that you can reflect on it and take away valuable lessons. But apart from that, I would say you want to make sure it flows well. So follow that structure that we were talking about before, about the introduction, the main body, extracurriculars, conclusion, and, good use of vocabulary. Don't go OTT and start using a thesaurus for every word. Please don't do that. It's not necessary. They're not analyzing your grammar. Just make sure it flows well. It's got a nice little structure. You'll see later, I like to tell a story about my initial exposure to dentistry, my first work experience, why that made me want to do my second work experience, why that made me want to do research, and then I kind of just round it off. So make sure it flows well. One other tip, mentors, have other people that can read it and give you feedback. It's important not to get, too many mentors, because you might just get a little bit confused and have too many opinions, and that's not good. But have a nice balance. Have a mentor that maybe can check your English, maybe an English teacher. Have your family read it and tell you what they like and what they don't like. Other dental students, other dentists in your family or friendship group, and yeah, that's pretty much it for me. Really, really use those mentors.
Yeah, it's important, and it's kind of humbling sometimes. Like you show your mum, you show your dad, they'll be like, I don't really understand it. And that's good because it shows that you've not really represented your ideas very well. And a lot of people get really caught up into thinking, oh no, I need to pay someone to look at this. Oh, I need to do this. Like, no, people around you are going to give you a lot of information. I think Robbie was saying how he showed like one of his English teachers, they helped him with his grammar. Like, there's so many different ways that you can utilize the people around you. And when you're at sixth form or at school, it's so amazing that you get people to help you, like your teachers. Other people like that are doing gap years or postgrads, they don't have that same experience. So, make sure that you take that and absolutely use those resources as much as possible. Great. So now we're going to do something that I'm sure you're all going to love. Myself and Robbie, we are going to go through our own personal statements. We really appreciate if you guys respect the fact that these are ours and that we are showing these to help you guys as much as possible. Of course, if you plagiarize, you're going to get caught. If you try and copy them, you're going to get caught, and you're not going to really gain anything. So please do appreciate that we're sharing these with you guys just to help as much as possible. And please do think of your own independent ideas for your personal statements. Thank you very much. Great. So first we'll go through Robbie's. So yeah,
cool.
Go ahead, Robbie.
So quick whistle stop tour of my personal statement, the structure, the bits I liked and the bits I didn't like. So I started off with a statistic about Coca-Cola. Looking back on it, I don't necessarily like it, but it kind of shows you that any method or most methods will work. So don't get, too caught up in thinking, oh, I have to start off this way, I have to include this and that and the other. No, different techniques work. So after that, I kind of quickly just talked about why the need for dentists is important in society, and kind of why that sparked my interest in dentistry. And as you can see, it's only 3 sentences long. Moving on to my first paragraph, I talk about my first work experience in a NHS practice. You can see I observed tooth implants, and then here I witnessed the importance of a good rapport between the dentist and the patients, and recognized the importance of communication skills. And that's my reflection, and that's the skills I've learned. Then, like I was saying earlier, oh yeah, thank you for highlighting that. So yeah, I saw how significant oral health is to the well-being of patients. So that's building on my reflection, saying what I've learned. Mm-hmm. Now moving on, again, sticking to the story theme, I went to do a work experience in a subspecialty of dentistry called maxillofacial surgery. For those of you that don't know what that is, you kind of need medicine and dentistry to do it. It's really cool. But anyways, sticking to the point, I talked about how I shadowed consultants, and I appreciated the tasks that they had to undergo in a hospital setting. So I was able to contrast hospital and practice from the last paragraph as well. I talked about the pressure they're under and the procedures, how intricate and elaborate they were, and how I realized you need anatomical knowledge and advanced skills in manual dexterity, and how I learned these are important. And how at the end, last sentence in that paragraph, I learned the importance of teamwork skills in order to maximize patient care. Then moving on, again, telling a story after that work experience, I wanted to do some research to further my knowledge. And then I just talked about an article I read, and that kind of highlights to them that, yes, he's taking an extra step. He's reading around some of the current interesting topics in dentistry. To kind of wrap it all off, my final 3 paragraphs. So one is about the A-level subjects I was doing. So I kind of related each subject to dentistry, and Faris has a really good example in his one, which I'm sure you guys will find quite funny. But literally you can link a lot of things from each subject. So biology, anatomy, chemistry, medicinal knowledge, because dentists are involved in prescribing drugs, administering drugs. Yes, it is 4,000 characters, Will. And then mathematics, problem solving skills, etc., etc. My second to last paragraph is my extracurriculars. Again, I think it's 3 sentences, 4 actually, but 4 very short sentences. So I talked about helping children in Sunday school lessons, and dentists work with children, so that's important. Pediatrics, and then finally work-life balance and keeping fit, etc. Finally, to round it all off, my conclusion is 3 sentences, nice and short, and I've introduced nothing new. I've just said I want a career that provides a high level of clinical care, and how dentists make a positive difference to the lives of their patients, and how I think there's no better profession, and therefore I'm very interested in pursuing it as a career. So yeah, that's the Whistle Stop Tour. You saw the basic structure, you saw how I reflected on my experiences, you saw the length of each paragraph pretty much. And the reason it may appear that it's more than 4,000 characters is because it's double spaced. But yeah, that's it from me. And yes, it is still being recorded.
Yeah, I was just answering on that. Yeah, so you guys saw this, like this is Robbie's, this is his proper personal statement. It looks quite large just because of how Robbie's, balanced it. This is my one. Like, and these are the same, look, it's just smaller characters, that's literally it. So yeah, don't worry. They're definitely below 4,000 because these are our real personal statements. So yeah, but yeah, you saw this is how Robbie did this thing, and Will, I wanted to put something up because you mentioned this idea of like, oh, doesn't it get repetitive to keep repeating relating to dentistry? And I totally get that because that's what I thought as well. But there's different ways you can do it. So, for example, my dental observations made it clear that high level interaction are needed. Right, this is basically him showing why relating back to dentistry without saying because of dentistry. But he's done the same thing here. It's clear how significant oral health is blah blah blah, and how dental intervention can be life changing. You see what I mean? In the sense of you can dress it up in different ways. You don't need to say, oh yes, so I did these skills and it's really important in dentistry because of this. You know what I mean? There's different ways that you can shift it. You see what I mean? Yeah. It's a weird one because I think that's one of the difficult ones where you can't, like, no one really tells you about it. You kind of just get told, oh yeah, just mention cool examples and that's about it. You know what I mean? So that's how we would do it. You kind of manipulate the way that you relate to dentistry in a way that doesn't sound repetitive. Anyway, hope that answers that, Will. And if you have any more questions about that, do let us know because we know it's a bit confusing. Cool. So here's my one. So I start off by saying the way faces are constructed, effects of accompanying damage fascinate me. And again, I follow this idea of flow with Robbie as well. So I go from, I said this, so I'm interested in like the oral region. At that time, I was more interested in this route of oral medicine and maxillofacial surgery. So more like, what's it called? Pushing towards like the interesting like trauma side of dentistry. I then mentioned how I then read a book, learned more about dentistry, increased my interest in dentistry, talked about how it's core that the teeth are part of a person's image. I then go on to another progression, kind of similar to Robbie, where I talk about like this idea of research. So I learned this, I looked at how the oral region is interesting, and then I went to some talks. So I went to some talks at King's. Obviously, I said that because I wanted to go to King's. Manifest. Touching upon the issues of oral cancer, I talk a little bit more about oral cancer. I said I researched it more, and as a result of all of this, it made me subscribe to the BDJ, the British Dental Journal. So do you see how there's a story there, kind of, but I've not narrated it. I've just given some flow to the personal statement. You want to make it easy for the admission staff to read, okay? And it's really hard to teach someone how to make it flow. But the book is called Smile Stealers. If I'm going to be really honest, guys, it's not the best book. I've got it here in my room somewhere. I think I use it as a weight. So it's not great, but it does give you some insight into dentistry. If you want to read it, has some images, gives you a bit of the history. Anyway, next, I then talked about the main thing, which is work experience. And I know you guys are really, 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 really struggling to find work experience. It's really hard this year, but it can be done. You just have to work really hard. Work experience has never been easy to get. I just want to make that clear. It never has been easy. The only way that people generally get work experience is by working super duper hard, emailing so many dentists, like thousands or 1,000, and maybe getting a few responses, or knowing the right person. And unfortunately, that's just life. So if you know any family members, if you know anyone that's in the dental field, try your absolute best to just shadow them for even a few days. And if not, you're just going to have to make a template, an email template, and send it to a load of dentists and just pray you get one response. Okay. So yeah, I hope that helps you guys. So yeah, and so I talked about my work experience, and here's the bit that we love about chemistry. So I was very, very specific with my personal statement, and I really wanted to make sure I hit all the skills. And one of the skills that I never had was manual dexterity. So I had to find something that actually showed it. So I thought, let me just talk about titrations in chemistry, and it worked. So what I'm trying to say is sometimes you have to be a bit creative. Like I didn't have something like knitting or Rubik's Cube or like cake baking and decorating. So I was like, why not just talk about titrations? And it worked. And I talked about it in all my interviews. They loved it. So it can be done. But yeah, like the point here is have a bit of creativity don't be too bog standard. The more bog standard you are, the less interesting you're going to be. So yeah, talked about hard skills. So here's my example. I've talked about the skills like manual dexterity. I've talked about how I've developed it. And then I've talked about why it's important with the dentist. So I've then said it's important with soft skills, and I observed how the dentist interacted with the patients and staff. So I've really had that progression. I've really showed the admission staff, really forced it, and I've been like, look, I really know why these skills are important, and this is why they're important. Same thing here. I then talk about those soft skills a bit more, talk about this idea of establishing rapport, and I talked about flexibility as well, which is, it's one of those weird ones where it's kind of a skill, but not a lot of people talk about this idea of flexibility and being able to mold to the situation you're in. Okay. I talked about procedures with the periodontist, talked about the specific procedures, what they did, why I found it interesting. And I then related to dentistry because I said it showed me the breadth of dentistry. And it allowed me to empathize with the patient. I should have said empathize here upon reflection. I say this every time I go through my personal statement, but it's not that deep. And then I kind of put a little section here about why I think it's interesting. Like, I want to emulate that feeling for patients. All right, bit of that personality showing through. Then next I talked about World Challenge, which is where I went to Mongolia and did some charity work. So I undertook physical, mental challenges, trekking, volunteering, developed skills of independence, teamwork. I mentioned how I developed those skills. And then, Will, I'm shouting you out again. Look, this is how I related it to dentistry. So I understand how teamwork is crucial in the clinical settings and now have a realistic idea of what it will be like. That's it. That's my application to show that it relates to dentistry. But you see how different it was to what Robbie did, and how it's not just me saying, I did this, it's important in dentistry. Okay. And then I talked about other skills. So like I was a bit of a neek at sixth form. So I was house captain, vice chair, prefect, all that stuff. Talked about how they all promoted my leadership skills. Here's another key thing. Do not mention things for the sake of it. And if you're going to mention something and mention a skill, don't mention another example that has the same skill. Remember that. So I could have technically done these as 3 different things, but there's no point. They all talk about the same skill. So group things together, eliminate things, just make sure that you talk about specific skills. Don't just mention things for the sake of mentioning them. And then again, here's another one. Well, I'm going to keep shouting out. Well, look, these skills are essential for dentistry as they will allow me to build long-lasting relationships with patients. That's my relation to dentistry. And then the final bit, again, as Robbie said, and I said, I didn't mention anything new. A dentist must possess qualities taking on many roles. One must be a clinician, leader, counselor, skills I need, blah, 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 blah. Done. So yeah, hopefully that was helpful for you guys with regards to like going through our personal statements. Because we know that it's hard to find good examples online. So we thought we'd share these with you guys so you can get a little bit of a glimpse of how we did it. And yeah, we hope you guys find it useful, basically. And yeah, that is actually the end of the webinar. So thank you guys for coming through. We're going to do a Q&A session now where you can literally ask us every single question you have ever thought of with regards to personal statements. So we'll be on for the next like 20-30 minutes, and you guys can just fire away whatever you want.
Would you like to go through some of the ones we didn't answer from before?
Yes, we can do that.
Okay, so I'll read